So if you've missed the Dev Talk show, we are working on getting back on the air, and there's been some technical issues and schedule changes, work schedule changes, even just family and life schedule changes that have made it difficult to go at our normal times. But the expectation is that these shows would start around 7:30 U.S. Eastern Time and end around 8:30. So the hard stop has moved up a little bit, or back. And one thing that we have been setting up to work on, I'm trying to remember the name of this feature. You probably remember it. It's not called the data access. Uh,
The data API builder?
there it is, the data API builder. That's what it is, which we have
Yes.
looked at before on the show.
Hmm. Yeah.
But this was a plan to take good old fashioned AdventureWorks, which wow, I have memories of AdventureWorks and SQL Server, hook it up using the data API builder. Did I get that right? I didn't forget the name already.
Hmm.
I know the name, but right now I'm just
Right.
blanking on it. And seeing how using this feature in Azure, you can have a data access API built literally in minutes without the boilerplate that I think sometimes you end up building over and over and over. And it's like, hey, here it is. It supports other things besides SQL. Like we know it supports NoSQL and other databases, but this is going to be SQL Server Data Access API.
Hmm.
And that Data Access API, I think, has built-in support for other things like I want to say it's like static websites, Azure static websites.
So that's the technology when we were playing around with static websites and
Hmm.
connecting to Cosmo. That's technology under the cover that does that, right?
Yeah.
So we really didn't have to do
Okay.
anything. That was
Okay.
the show was like, hey, let's do this, and we can stand it over top of Cosmo, and it just works, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to configure
Right.
anything.
Yeah, and then there's this whole manifest that you can use to fine tune it, so you're not just stuck
Yeah.
with whatever it gets you. You can fine tune it a little bit. So that'll be interesting to look at. And that's what the plan was for today. But I think
Yeah.
we got to 7:30, and then the technical difficulties, and here we are, just a few minutes until 8:30 U.S. Eastern Time. So
Yeah. And just to share a little bit more about so we're definitely we'll set up a SQL Server instance in Azure. We'll have it running locally, right? And then all the configuration that has to happen there between authentication versus anonymous connections, right? So there's that kind of overlay that we can do too. And then take what we've done, put it in a container and move it to Azure so
okay,
that we actually have it running up there. And then once we do that, some of the interesting part and some of the, I guess, topical part, if you think about it, is you can host that endpoint, that API endpoint through API management, which is what that service is for, right? To be that layer over top of APIs. But there's a new feature over there where you can actually flip the switch and say, make this a model context protocol endpoint. So as part of your LLM or generative AI conversations, you can include what are called tools so that you can talk to that data and have that be part of the results that get turned back to the user. So there's a whole end-to-end story there, and that's part of the reason for me building it out. And
hmm
it made sense that it'd be something fun to show here while we do it.
yeah, yeah. I'd forgotten about that last part, but I suppose it means that theoretically, once the MCP is up, I know one tool we could integrate it with is VS Code, but
Yeah,
I don't. I guess what we'll explore a little bit is that this is kind of the pathway to building an agent that operates over your data, or maybe even just a system that operates over your data. I'm really looking forward to that part because I think I get the basics of MCP, and I get the
hmm
basics of how you would set one up, but sometimes the end application is still a little elusive. I mean, I'm seeing what's
yeah,
happening with integration in VS Code as a developer, and I'm seeing how the MCP protocol or the MCP server that's hooked up to learn.microsoft.com,
yeah,
you add that to VS Code, and now it's almost like your conversations with the agent have access to all of that too.
yeah.
Um, and I guess it's fair to say it's access to it in a more direct way, because a lot of an LLM, a typical LLM is probably going to have access to learn just through what it picks up off the web.
Right.
But
There's it
yeah,
becomes a bit of difference with when we think about giving information to the LLM, we call that the grounding aspect, right? How do we shape the context of how it should shape its response? And yes, it probably was trained on some of that information, but that information has a cutoff date.
hmm
And secondly, by having the tool be the thing to
Mhm.
say, hey, this is where you should be searching for that information, it really pulls it forward and say, doesn't matter about all the stuff I know.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on this as
Right.
being the thing that I want to base my answer on, especially when it comes to something technical in Azure, when it comes to services or biceps or what have you.
Yeah, and that makes sense, is that you'd get a sharper focus on everything that the Learn MCP server is returning, and it's up to the instant, instead of, well, when was the last time this model was trained? And the model's looking at everything that it knows, and so your answer's not really dialed in. And then especially if it's your, let's say it's your corporate data and you're building an internal set of tools, then you wouldn't have access to any of it. So
Right.
so that'll be fun to look at, and we'll see if we can get that set up next time. That would be Monday, and so we're gonna try and set up an event on YouTube so that everybody will see it's coming, and have better luck here on Monday morning. So
Yeah.
but for
So
now, there's our
bottom
little,
line is we're back.
yeah.
We never really left, but we've got some plans. We've got some shows lined up and some new tech, and we hope we'll see you all bright and early Monday morning.
Yeah, sounds good. We will see you next time on the Dev Talk